Alright people, I'm sure many of you have already seen this video making the rounds. 40 million shared on the Twitter. Damn, I think even Elon Musk shared it. That probably helps. Now you know me, normally I don't like to do a video on something that everyone else already has, but when I do, for whatever reason, and I don't know why my brain does this, but I stare off in a wildly different direction from the masses. The masses being the comments on the Twitter, by the way. Now, the video in question is of a teacher talking to a student. On Twitter, this is utterly brilliant. A student accuses J.K. Rowling of being transphobic. This teacher skillfully dissects the claim and challenges it by asking questions. He teaches not what to think, but how to think critically. Watch until the end, you see the epiphany in real time. Now again, my brain veers off in a wildly different direction, but I'll tell you why in a few.
So these guys want to talk about J.K. Rowling? Is that so? What's going on with that? What do you want to know?
On a side note, he looks and behaves so much like my buddy Ian, like they could be brothers. I'm sorry, sir, go on.
She's had a pretty controversial past. I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, do you still like her work despite her bigoted opinions?
I do find the lad's attitude rather comical, don't you? He comes across like the Inquisition, doesn't he? Do you still like this controversial woman with her bigoted opinions, do you? It sounds like a shaming tactic.
So let's get specific though. Let's define bigoted opinions. What opinions are bigoted? We're going to treat this as a thought experiment. I'm not going to say what's right or wrong or what way to think. The whole point is to learn how to think, not what to think.
You see, now here is where I will teach you people. Always examine everything in the scene. I'd say over 90% of people watching this will focus on the teacher and what he says. Why? Because he talks more and we can see him. And because the Twitter post before you even watched the video told you what to look out for. Bear that in mind.
Yeah.
So when you say bigot, you're starting with the conclusion that given her bigoted opinions.
Yeah.
So first let's start with, does she have bigoted opinions? So when you say bigoted opinions.
She has had a history of being extremely transphobic, I've heard.
Hey, you've heard. So what, can you give me an example?
If you look at her Twitter, I think you could see a few things. If you want, I could try and find something.
See if you can find one.
So, one of these tweets that she came out with in 2019, she said, "Dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real."
By the way, I find this worldview utterly insane. Because the idea of, oh, you can do everything except X. Yeah, well, after a while, X just creates the slippery slope. Oh, it's fine to be gay now, but you can't get married. Well, you can get married, but you can't adopt kids. Oh, you can adopt kids. You see what that leads to. But let's listen to the end.
So you find that bigoted? What do you find about
it? Was deemed transphobic. I myself.
Do you find that transphobic yourself?
I don't really have an opinion on it, but I'm just going with what a lot of other people have said.
So let's pause there. Let's not go with what other people are saying. Let's try and learn how to critically think. So let's analyze the tweet ourselves. So that statement, do you see anything problematic? Disregarding other people's opinions.
She did try and pin some things on a specific group of people.
Where does she do that? Can you read that?
But force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real.
So when I hear that, I'm interpreting that as meaning if a woman says that, saying that there's a difference between men and female and then being attacked as transphobic, I think that's what she's saying by attacking someone for stating that sex is real.
That is exactly what she's saying.
Is that transphobic to you?
So, to me, no. Stating that sex is real is not transphobic. It's just a fact of life. It exists.
So is there anything you disagree with in that tweet?
In that tweet, I can't really see anything that I myself disagree with, but I can see why some people would think, oh, this is offensive. We can't have that here or something, because...
Sure.
There's an apology tweet.
Let's read that. What did she say there? I haven't read that.
"I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it is hateful to say so.
You see anything problematic there?
She's apologizing, so no, not really. If I could read it again.
It sounds like a very similar statement as what she was just saying. She's basically saying, like, I have nothing, to me, this is what I interpret it as, I have nothing against someone being trans.
Exactly.
In your life, but you just don't get to impose on my, you can live how you want, I can live how I want.
Yeah.
And let's all,
Exactly.
So I guess now that we're looking at it like, oh, there's not much difference between me or her, do you think it's fair that that she's being attacked by a large group of people and people are calling her, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, you said, given the fact that J.K. Rowling is transphobic, how do you feel about Harry Potter? Now, retroactively looking at that statement, do you think that was the best way to phrase?
No, I feel like an idiot now.
It's okay though, but this is why we do this, to learn how to think.
Now, let's listen to the start again, and don't pay attention to the teacher so much this time. Pay more attention to the boy.
Yeah.
So first, let's start with, does she have bigoted opinions? So when you say bigoted opinions,
she has had a history of being extremely transphobic, I've heard.
Hey, you've heard. So what? Can you give me an example?
If you look at her Twitter, I think you could see a few things. If you want, I could try and find something.
See if you can find one.
So, one of these tweets that she came out with in 2019, she said, "Dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real."
So you find that bigoted? What do you find about
it? It was deemed transphobic. I myself.
Do you find that transphobic yourself?
I don't really have an opinion on it, but I'm just going with what a lot of other people have said.
So let's pause there. Let's not go with what other people are saying. Let's try and learn how to critically think. So let's analyze the tweet ourselves. So that statement, do you see anything problematic? Disregarding other people's opinions.
Notice the temperament of the lad. He's jittery and he's nervous, increasingly so as the teacher is drawing the argument out one by one, as you would be. But the teacher skillfully puts him in this uncomfortable position with just a few simple questions. Take special note of the order, disregard the opinion of others, because that is the real weakness of the boy. When at first the teacher probes, that's the boy's fallback. The series of questions ultimately have the effect of making the group look idiotic. It exposes the group ideology. Notice the lad's not being taught what or even how to think, merely to give his opinion for the most part. The boy's thinking is just fine. No, his real problem is he is susceptible to groupthink, which is forgivable, you can tell he's a young'un. But as the group is looking more and more illogical, the group fallback option would make him look stupid, and he doesn't quite know where to go with that. So he's stuck between, my teacher has a point, I should listen and learn and perhaps concede, or I can get burned by the group who evidently are a bunch of idiots who just set themselves on fire. Well, conceding is a smarter play than being willfully stupid. Even his line of how he can see how other people can find this offensive is kind of a conciliatory response, even one that I would say as well. The only difference is I would call them cringe and gay for being offended. It's this new awkward position of, well, I can't go back to my safety zone now that I see it's also full of morons, what do I do? That's the real learning experience right there. In the grand scheme of things, what the teacher was really teaching the boy is building the confidence to decouple from groupthink. In this case, it was by making said group look illogical in proximity to his own opinions. He just happens to have been the spokesperson for them in this particular scenario. I mean, for heaven's sake, the boy was able to concede and admit he felt like an idiot. The capacity to recognize the fault, having the humility to admit it and be humbled, that alone proves he's already smarter than all the leftists we know. I suspect the lad will be just fine. Fair play to both of them. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.